bravely coming forward as whistleblowers, risking their careers to effects from the vaccine and the fraud that was perpetrated on the U.S. Well, several members of the U.S. military are now bravely coming forward as whistleblowers, risking their careers to reveal how the government is covering up adverse effects from the vaccine and the fraud that was perpetrated on the U.S. military being forced to take this. Many of them already have had consequences in their careers for speaking up at all or for refusing the vaccine. Many of them have been demoted or lost opportunities for promotion, that kind of thing. So do you want to give some context here?
Yeah, because we got some new data out on this too. New data shows that the coding system that the military uses to track health care of service members is showing a huge increase in things like, miscarriages, myocarditis, cancer, Bell's palsy, female infertility, and many, many other health conditions. The list is long, and this is the military's own coding system that the military uses to track these types of
it's like the way you bill your insurance. If you've ever had, your insurance, you take your kid in for a pediatric appointment and they get a, vaccine or something. They're like, the insurance, they didn't put the right code in. So then you have to make 10 phone calls.
Right.
It's like that. It's like how they code things in order to bill for them. Those codes are being disproportionately used in the time since the vaccine mandate went into place.
Right, and this data, we should be specific about it, comes from the Defense Medical Epidemiology Database. Say that 5 times fast, from the Department of Defense. This is the government's own data from the U.S. military. And now there's a massive lawsuit. Now, there were a couple of military whistleblowers who came forward a number of months ago, and they sat at a Senate panel, and they came forward to tell their story at great risk of their career, being grounded permanently or expelled from the military for coming forward and blowing the whistle on what was actually happening inside of the military. One of the lead lawyers on this story is Dale Saurin. He is the head lawyer. He's also a former Marine, and gathered up these individuals to bring this lawsuit, saying it's one of the greatest frauds perpetrated on the American people and the U.S. military in years. I want to let him explain what his motivation is for bringing this lawsuit. Listen.
There is no licensed vaccine, and I know it's convenient, and I don't blame anybody in the media, but because they've fallen for the FDA's propaganda campaign. But the day that the FDA licensed Comirnaty, August 23rd of 2021, the same day, it removed it from the market. So if you look at the marketing begin and end date of Comirnaty, you'll find that it cannot be sold in the United States because it was removed from the U.S. market the same day that it was actually licensed. And it would be good if maybe we started asking some hard questions about people at the FDA and the DoD who knew this, because it was, notwithstanding that it was removed from the market on August 23rd, the next day, August 24th, the Secretary of Defense announced that they were going to go forward with this vaccine program only for licensed products, of course, that they didn't have. And yet the program rolled forward, and what the DoD did was, as many of the folks here know, the Undersecretary of Defense for Health Affairs, a woman named Terry Aderam, published a memo claiming that the unlicensed product, BNT162b2, Pfizer's unlicensed EUA product, could be substituted in, that it was interchangeable with the licensed product. And that's the fraud that's at the heart of our case, and it's the fraud that's at the heart of why these products have been forced on an unwilling and unsuspecting public.
Saving money in the bank is for losers. If they don't pay you any interest, you lose. If inflation makes what you're saving for more expensive, you lose. That's why we created the Gold Saver account, allowing you to save a small...
unwilling and unsuspecting public.
Unbelievable. So if you think about they sent a letter, of course, in part of the lawsuit, and this was the letter that was sent to Secretary Lloyd Austin on February 1st, 2022. The Honorable Lloyd Austin, the Defense Secretary, and they said on January 24th, I held a roundtable, and this was from Senator Ron Johnson's office. renowned doctors and medical experts who shared their perspectives on COVID-19 and overall response to the pandemic. At that roundtable, I heard testimony, and specifically from these whistleblowers. The concern is that these increases in health-related issues may be related to COVID-19 vaccines that our servicemen and women have been mandated to take. And so the list, of these, just a couple of these things that they highlight in this letter: hypertension, a 2,181% increase.
Well, we're going to go over some of these numbers in a bit, but what he's saying here is that the vaccine that was administered and the vaccine that was approved are two different things. And I believe that's something that David has been saying repeatedly for at least the last year, right, David? This is what you've been saying. I've heard you say it, is that the one that's being used in Europe is approved, but the one that was being used in the United States was not. This is exactly your point, right? Do you have any clarifying points on that, or am I just giving you a high five for having said this?
Or do we have to be very careful?
Just an up top. Okay.
Now, Comirnaty, and it's amazing to me. So they just think, oh, no one will notice. The one that got approved, then they literally yanked off the shelves the same afternoon because we can't give this to people. It's illegal. We'll just swap it out for this other one that hasn't been tested. Right.
But it was used in Europe, which is strange.
I know, it's bizarre.
The one that was approved.
So we, as part of this roundtable press conference as it relates to this lawsuit, we're hearing now from a couple of these whistleblowers, a couple of the members of the military that have come together as part of this massive lawsuit. They have over 1,000 members of the military that have now joined this lawsuit. This is no small thing. And they're not only representing themselves, but they're also representing the people who can't speak publicly or don't want to, and who have these all sorts of adverse effects and issues that they don't want to talk about publicly. Here's John Bowles. He's a fighter pilot. It's a distinguished fighter pilot, and talking about why he came forward. Listen to this.
That's pretty clear, I think, to almost everyone. In the report that I helped generate to Congress, we've quantified that in terms of actual, no-kidding, vaccine injuries that service members have encountered. Pilots getting pericarditis, one service member having 4 strokes after getting the vaccine, heart attacks, so many things that are just absolutely tragic and horrific stories that are heartbreaking to hear. And I think that's really the kind of common theme here for so many people, is that these service members are kind of heartbroken. I personally am, and I know thousands of others are as well. And we're not doing this because we want to stick it to the man, or because we're a fringe group of rebels, or religious radicals, or right-wing radicals, or anything like that. We were given and instilled in us values about supporting and defending the Constitution, values about integrity and excellence, and values about asking questions when something seems wrong and speaking up about it. And that's exactly what we're doing here today. Is we are here to bring awareness to the fact that there are serious concerns about this mandate. They're a detriment to our national security. They're hurting our service members, and the coercive tactics used against them are forcing people out of the military in droves. And so that's my specialty, and that's what I'm here to answer questions on. And hopefully we can start to get the gears moving with the American people in Congress on making some change in this, because like Rachel said, the lawsuits might be the one thing that actually ends this for us, but the bottom line is these service members need top cover from the American people and from our congressional leaders, and I'm here to ask for that.
Yeah, so why is this still in place?
Right.
Can I point out too, I watched a hearing, like a lot of people aren't willing to go down the rabbit holes I do. I watched 7-hour videos. I watched a 7-hour video where a woman from the military,